think now, all right, I think now we can get started. Let me try to share my screen and you let me know if you see it.
Okay.
Are we set?
Yes.
Okay, so yesterday we were trying to see how we could communicate with the node using some small API calls. We built a small backend server in Express, and we read, we created some invoices, we decoded them, and then we did all the great stuff. So today hopefully we complete it. I'm aiming to finish with the whole API calls today, and today we are majorly going to create an invoice and pay it and see what happens when you pay an invoice. What's its life status, and what happens, where does it move, and how does it get settled on the lightning network. So I'm going to try to spin up our lightning node network. Let me go ahead and run docker. I don't think it's running. And you can always interrupt, and if you have a question that's burning, maybe I'll pause through the session and maybe address it if I can. So I've got my docker running, as you can see here, and then let me spin up Polar. So Polar is a lightweight, I think it's a development tool that was built for Lightning Network developers, so that you do not have to run in full node when you're developing. So you can use Polar to create these nodes and develop a small local Bitcoin network, so that you can run your node locally and you can test and develop without having to pay and having to host the node online. So I think it's a good service for the developer community, and it's what we are using entirely in this session. So this is our small network that we've been going through. We've been using through the whole session. We are using Bitcoin D as the backend. Bitcoin D is it's the main backend that LND, which is the Lightning Network, sits on. So it helps it in settling invoices like on-chain transactions. When you open a channel, it's what Bitcoin backend does to help you create those addresses. Maybe you want to deposit money into your node. Bitcoin D does all of that. So it's the main chain. It's the main chain that synchronizes to the main blockchain, the main Bitcoin blockchain. So there's a number of that. You can use Bitcoin D. You can use there's this Eclair. I don't know if I pronouncing it well, but there's also uh, Core Lightning. Core Lightning is this. Eclair and Core Lightning are these nodes, are these Lightning nodes. So basically, these all these ones sit on top of Bitcoin D. So and they use it as a backend server. So we have LND, we have Eclair, and we have C Lightning. I think it's called Core Lightning. So but in this series, we are using LND. I think it's the most popular and it's the one of the most used. So and yeah, it's written in Golang, but you do not have to know a lot of Golang. You can still develop using JavaScript. You can still develop using Python and any other language. The only thing that you need to do is to spin up the server, spin up the code, host it on the cloud, and then you can start making API end calls, like how we did it yesterday. So basically, most of these do the same thing. C Lightning, I think it's written in C++. Eclair, I'm not sure, but basically they all do the same or similar thing. So let me start up our chain, and you can see you use this button, and I think I'll go ahead and set up to auto mine. Maybe it will mine every 30 seconds, and then this button updates the UI. Maybe if you open a channel and you want to see what's happening, you can always this to update the graphs and the nodes so that you can see what's happening. Okay, so our node is open. Remember, we are developing from Alice's node. Alice's node, we have some small money that we've dropped into her node. So what happens when you when you spin up your node and you want to add some money? For example, here Paula gives you these buttons, maybe the deposit. So let me try to deposit 800 Satoshi. This settles on chain. So when you deposit that, it's handled by Bitcoin D, and then it creates an address, maybe an account for your node, and then that money settles on your chain's main blockchain. So using this money, these funds that you've put in your node, you can use that to open channels, to close channels, and then to settle all of that. So remember, guys, that lightning is built like as a separate road from the main blockchain. So you can move your money from the main blockchain and put it on lightning, and you can also do it vice versa. So but the opening of channels, it has to be done on chain. So it's the reason why we have Bitcoin D to create on chain addresses and everything. Okay, so let me go ahead and try. So this is, like I said, we are developing using Alice's node. We are connecting to Alice's node using the REST API endpoint. We are using the admin macarons to do that. So for the people that weren't here yesterday, let me try to go through our backend server. We are using Express, but you can use any other language that you want, provided that it can be able to make API endpoints. So this is the macaron. Macarons are keys that you can put that are managed by your node. So when you create your Bitcoin node, your Lightning node, LND creates these macarons files for you that you can use to manage all this other stuff like creating invoices, opening channels, and closing channels. So whatever endpoint that you want to communicate with to your node, you have to be able to pass through your macarons. So we copied that and put it there in our backend. And also, Polar gives you these REST endpoints that you can call to and then communicate with your node like that. So we've brought that in our backend, and we've created some small blueprints, code lines that we can use. We've created a GET request that takes in the REST API, and it takes in the macaron path, and then it just as the headers, the main headers, to authorizate that. And also we have the post request that does the same thing, based on the difference that it has the data request that is put there.
Ex- Excuse me.
Yes.
Maybe you could make it a bit like Command Plus. You could make it a bit
Oh,
magnified.
okay. I think I forgot
Yes.
that. I think, should I put it in light mode?
No.
I leave it there.
Or maybe yes. Maybe others can say, but it is very visible.
Okay. All right. So and then when I go to the main endpoint, we created a few endpoints yesterday. We created an endpoint that creates an invoice, which is this one. So we're testing in Polar. So let me try to zoom this in. So what this endpoint has, we have this create invoice. Basically, we are trying to simulate what happens when you are using these Lightning wallets. So basically, if I try to create an invoice for maybe 600 sats, and I give it a memo. A memo is like a message. So I'll call this wallet invoice, and then when you create send, my server is not running. I need to run it here, so I'll use nodemon. So it's running on port 800. So okay, I think I pressed the wrong button. So you create that invoice, and then you can see you be able to get this payment request. And what this payment request is what the wallet decodes. So for example, if I create that invoice and I share it with you, and you're using another wallet, you can use that wallet to read that invoice. We created that invoice that reads. We created that endpoint that also reads the invoice. It's like it decodes it in those terms. So it passes it the invoice, and then it puts it in the get request from LND, and then here it decodes it. So let's try to go through the invoice that we created. And when you go there, you can see it shows you which node created it. So here we created it with this node. So here we are using Alice's node, so it's a self requested node. So you can see here's the node's public key. So when you go back to Polar, you can see that this is Alice's node with 7A6, which is the same thing here. And then it gives you the amount, it gives you the payment hash, it gives you the payment address. Sometimes it gives you the route hints. In this case, it doesn't know because we do not have any channel created there, and all of that. Maybe let me try to create another invoice using Caro. So let me say create invoice. Caro wants an invoice of 60K. Create that, copy the hash, and then we use Alice's node to read that invoice here. Pass that there, and then you press send, and you can see that it gives you the information about the node that created that invoice, which is the public key. This is FF6, which is Caro's node public key here. And then other information about that, the amount, the expiry date, the destination, and sometimes the multi-hops and all of that. So basically that was what we did yesterday. Today I want to try and show you how we can pay an invoice that we have created. So I've already been testing around so that I do not bore you with my scrolling through the documentation, but I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible. Let's see. I want to add a new node to my lightning chain because all of these nodes already have some money. So I've already tested with Bob and they already have some sats. I want to test with something that has 0 money. Okay, so let me try and add another node. To do that, let me first stop the lightning so that Docker doesn't crash on me. So I'll pull that, and then they've given me dev. So I'll restart my node afresh. Okay, so this is dev. Dev, we're waiting for dev to come online. So dev is online. So this is dev. His node is a brand new shiny node. It doesn't have anything. It has 0 money. It has 0 sats. It has 0 anything. But then Alice, the developer that we are developing onto, she has some money. She has 1 million sats. And Dev is the new guy that Alice wants to pay to. Maybe Dev is the bartender. So Alice wants to pay Bob, wants to pay Dev using lightning through code, of course. Maybe Alice has this app. So what happens is Dev will create the invoice. Maybe when Dev create that invoice, how should I do that? I think I should first create an endpoint that pays. Okay, let's try to first create the invoice that Dev does. So Dev tells Alice, hey, you know what, you're going to pay 20K maybe for that drink. So Dev creates that invoice, copies the payment hash, which is sometimes in form of a QR code, and then gives it to Alice. Alice is using Shukuru. So what Alice does, gets this code and scans it using Shukuru, and when she does that, it can show her that, hey, this invoice is coming from a node with a public key, which is B86, which is Dev's dev's node. That's the public key. So and it tells Shukuru tells Alice, you know what, that invoice is it's a 20k sats invoice. This is the payment address, these are the smallest units of sats and all that information. So what will happen is, if Alice is satisfied with the information that she has, then she'll go ahead and try to pay that invoice using that app. So right now we do not have the endpoint to pay. So we are going to try and create that endpoint that Alice calls in her app after she decodes that invoice and then pays through. So using our same blueprint, I'm going to just copy all over this. And we paste that, and then we'll call our endpoint invoice pay. So we are very sure that this invoice takes in the invoice, which is the payment hash that is coming from here, this same thing. And then we are going to try to set it as a post request, because we know very well that this endpoint is going to receive some data. So what kind of data does that get? Let me first delete this so that we can make it clear. So after the requested body gets the invoice or the payment hash, there is a payload that what that invoice wants. So what that payload is, let me create that as an object, and it takes in something called a payment hash. So payment request, not payment hash, like that, and then pass in the invoice. So that will be the payload that the endpoint wants. And then we'll go ahead and create, we submit it to the LND pay request. So our endpoint, the post request is that. It takes in the data that we've created, and the endpoint is channels, it's channels and transactions. I'm going to show you where I get this from the documentation, and then stream. I think I've got that right. Data, transactions, channel, and stream. I think it's transaction. And then so I got that from the docs. So let me try to find that. If I get that from LND, you can get the documentation also from this Polar. It gives you a link to that. So if you go there, I think it's on connect, it gives you this REST. So you press that, it opens straight away in your browser, and it will take you to, so I think it's on payments. So this is LND. We are developing under LND, and I think it's on payments. Invoice services. I don't think it's invoice services. Let me look for channels. Get info. Okay, lightening service. So it's under lightening service, and then it's on send payment. So this is what we are going to look for. You can see it takes in the AMT, it takes in the payment hash, so the payment request. So there's a number of stuff that you can pass through when you decode that invoice. You can choose to take through the payment hash or the payment. Where is it? Yeah. So you can take through the payment request, and then maybe the payment hash when you create that invoice. So you see that, and then maybe the addresses. So this is the R hash. But the most common thing that I've seen is usually the payment request, this whole huge string. So it's what is this is what this is this endpoint, and then it's a string, and then we are going to throw it in the channel stream. I think I messed up that channels, transaction stream, channels, and then yeah. So this is the main endpoint, and let's try to spit it out. I'm not doing real-time error handling. I don't think it's the whole point of it all, but in good software, it will always be done. So we have the payment request as the body, as the payload. Most of you can always keep on being a little bit more descriptive with your invoice. You can add the destination, the node destination. You can add the amount. You can add everything just to be clear. But usually, this may be sometimes more than enough. Sometimes you can add a fee limit whereby you do not want your node to exceed a certain amount. Maybe you don't want it to be very expensive. So you tell it, hey, if the network is very busy, please do not exceed a fee of maybe this 5 sats. And when it sees that it's going to exceed a fee of 5 sats, then it will just fail. So it's what this fee limit is. And then sometimes it gives these multi hopes and all of that. So I'll leave this in the chat, so you can always come back and try to expand on your knowledge and see how you can build upon of this. Okay, so I think our endpoint is ready. We can go ahead and try to pay. I've already got that, so we have read the invoice, so we get that payment hash, and then we have that endpoint, that's invoice pay. It takes in the invoice here, and then when you put it there, so we go ahead and press enter. So now this is the problem that we have. So when you try to enter, it will not work, which is expected, because number one, there is no connection to dev. Dev is an island, and Alice is also an island. So the connection between Dev and Alice is not there. It's not there. There is no channel. So what happens is Alice will have to find a way to connect to Dev, basically. So usually, sometimes they'll agree, like, hey, let me lock some funds in this account, and also Dev will also lock some funds in that account. They agree and sign it on chain, and then they settle those invoices online on the Lightning network, and when they are done, they can close. So here you can connect. I'll try to use Polar. So when you open that, it's telling you you're trying to open a channel from Alice to Dev, and it gives you the capacity that, hey, the channel, you're putting 250k sats in this channel as Alice. So when Alice presses open channel, you can see we have now a connection from Alice to Dev. So Alice's node is green. So what happens is, the more the green that you have means the most money that Alice has. For example, the whole of this line is green. That means the whole money that is in the chain is in this line belongs to Alice. If Dev tries to if it was Dev that opened that channel to Alice, you would have seen this whole channel blue. But the fact that Dev has zero balance and it was Alice that did the opening, you find that the whole money and the whole channel has Alice's node, or Alice's what? The whole chain has Alice's money. So what this can mean, two things. This means that Alice can only pay Dev. So all that money is on Alice's side. So she does not have inbound liquidity to receive money from Dev, but she can pay Dev. Okay, so if I try to pay a transaction from Dev to Alice, it will not work. But if I try to pay a transaction from Alice to Dev, because the money is on her side, it can always go through. So the fact that they have a channel. Let me try to create a new invoice. The other one may have expired. This time I'm going to create a 20k. Let me say 25k sats. Create that invoice from Dev, and I'm going to give it to Alice to pay that. So let's first read and see if we can read that invoice from Dev successfully. Put that in the hash and press send. So you can see it shows us the destination, which is Dev. Let me try to see Dev B8602, and then it shows B8602. It gives you the payment hash, it gives you the transaction, and then I think we are good. So now we can go ahead and say we allow Alice to pay that money using our new endpoint. So I've just thrown the payment hash in the invoice, and then I'll try to press send. So the moment you press send, you see we do not have any errors. It's giving us a premium image, and it shows you what I like with lightning. Sometimes it shows you where the transaction moved to get to you. For example, there's this body, this object that shows the payment route. So it tells you. So most of the time, these nodes, they have a certain fee that they deduct from every transaction that goes through them. For example, someone may say, you know what, if you want me to channel your payment through my node, I'm going to charge you a fee of 1 sat. So what Lightning gives all that analysis, it tells you, you know what, your transaction passed through a node from maybe with this public key, and that node charged you this amount of money. It bashes all that money that the Lightning transaction passed through, and then it puts it in a total fee. So now we do not have a node that it passed it through, because it was from Alice to Dev straight away. So we did not pay any fees. But when we try to create a huge Lightning network where the transaction is hopping through multiple nodes, you can see maybe this fee will go a little bit higher. So it gives you these hops. So it tells you through that hops, it jumped from this node to this node to this node to this node. So now this is a good sign. The transaction has gone through, and let me try to refresh our UI. I don't know if you see that the blue is a little bit coming. I think I should, let me try to make it to create a bigger transaction. So I want you guys to see this blue growing a little bit bigger. So what will happen is, let me try to create a bigger invoice from Dev. I don't know if Alice has some sats. She has 80K, 800K. So let me try to create a bigger invoice. So let me try to create maybe a 200K sats. Copy that. Go back to Alice, and then we read that invoice to see if it is decoded properly. Let's see that it's coming from Dev, sorry, and it has this amount of 200K sats. Beautiful. And then let's try to go and pay that out. So we've paid that out, the amount has gone. And then when you come here, let's try to reload our UI. So you see, now the money is the money has gone to Bob's side. To Dev's side of the node. So now it's more blue. So usually, basically, this is how the Lightning network does and plays around with everything. So if I go ahead and look at Bob, so when I investigate the channel, so it shows you the source balance. So the fact that Alice paid 200, she's remained with this money. And then on the destination side, which is Dev's side, Dev has this 225K sats on their side. So usually what happens if maybe you find that Dev, now the problem here is that Alice and Dev, they only have their small Lightning network on their own. But you may find that Dev is connected to Caro. Let me try to connect with Caro. So when you try to connect with Caro, maybe Dev is connected to Caro, and then maybe maybe Bob is also connected to Caro. I don't know if Bob has money. I think Paula will drop in some money there. And then so now if take an example that Bob wants to receive money from Alice, but there's no connection with Alice. So what will happen is the transaction will come through Dev will lead it to Caro, and it will come to Bob. So I want to try and test that. I don't know how much sats that does Alice have. Let's see. I think she has enough. She has this. So I'm going to try and create an invoice from Bob. Maybe I should throw in a new node that has zero balance, because Bob has some money. Let me try to throw in a new node. I don't know if Paula will allow me with that. So I'm going to throw in a new LND. So yeah, they've given me Erin. Okay, so Erin has, let's try, Erin is there and is a new node, and Erin wants to receive a transaction from Alice. So I'm going to connect Erin with Bob. So let Bob open a channel with Erin and throw in 250. So now you can see now Erin is now connected on the chain. Okay, now Erin wants to receive a payment from Alice. So let me try to resume in so that I do not kill your eyes. So Erin is going to receive some payment from Alice. So we expect the transaction to move from Dev to Carol to this to this. Okay, Erin has zero balance. Let's try to create an invoice from Erin and then we give it to Alice. So we'll create an invoice and maybe give it, let's create a very cheap one of 5k. So 5k, and then she gives it to Alice. Alice, as usual, she's going to first decode it using her good app, and then it tells Alice, hey, this invoice is coming from a node that is DC6, which is Erin DC6. And then now that Alice is happy with that, she can go ahead and try to see if she can pay Erin through the Lightning network. So pay. So now you can see, now we have a problem. Now this is where everything gets complicated with Lightning. Not very complicated, but a little bit tricky. So you find that Alice has a connection with Bob, but then the problem is she does not have enough money on her side. So she'll have, there's a concept of balancing channels. So this money, she has to make sure that she has some green and she has some blue that is balanced on all chains. And then we open the channel from Dev to Carol. So when you look at the capacity, the source balance is from Dev. So Dev was the opener. So you find that this is whole green. So Dev has all the money on his side. So that means the transaction can move from this side if Alice balanced her channels properly. But I think it doesn't have any problem because we created a very cheap invoice. So the transaction tried to come to this side. It came to Dev. And when it came to Dev, so it gave Dev 5k. And then now Dev, because Dev had opened a channel with Carol, the 5k came to Carol. And when it reached to Carol's node, it looked okay. Carol has a node, a channel with Bob, and it has a capacity of this, but she opened it with the destination balance, with the source balance of this, and then it has a zero destination balance. So the transaction will try to come to this side, and then when it comes to this guy here, it will not find a way because this guy here has zero. So you have to make sure that the whole transactions are balanced through the whole chain, so that because it's like I give you, then you give the other guy. Then I give you, then you give the other guy. Then I give you, then you give the other guy. So that it happens in a two-way. I don't know if I make sense. So what you'll have to do is to make sure that these guys have balance. So this is where you go with the balancing nodes, with the balancing channels and everything. So maybe what Erin will have to do is she will have to open a channel with Bob so that she gets connected in a two-way format with Bob. And then also Bob connects with Carol so that he also has a two-way format with Carol. And then Carol also connects maybe with Dev. So this is the easiest way I could do it because I do not have any way I could balance those channels in Polar. It would be a little bit tricky with me. So I've tried to connect these nodes in a two-way to see if that can work. Then let me try to connect Let me try to connect Bob with Alice again and try to see that the whole chain is connected. So now we have the whole network. So let's try to pay that invoice again and see if it could move through. So let's go back with Erin. This auto mine, quick mine, and then create a new invoice from him. So create invoice, give it a 5K, copy and close. Hopefully Alice has enough money, Bob has enough liquidity from this side and then this side. Okay, hopefully I've connected my nodes properly to see if it moves through. So pay that. So it's not finding a route. So this is the tricky part with lightning, because you have to make sure that all these nodes are connected properly. But usually what happens is you need to make sure that you're connected to very good, well-connected nodes. Now, this is a very small network that I have, so it's tricky for me to maintain it here. But usually what happens is maybe you connected yourself with a very good peer that has very good channels, very good connections, and all the nodes and balances are moving through properly. Okay, so it appears that let me try to create that invoice with Bob and see if Bob can get the money with, let me say create invoice, and then let me give it to Alice and see if that can still move through from Alice's side. So create that. Okay, so I don't think this is there. Let me try to close this file. So when you close the channel, the money goes back to all parties. So it goes back to Alice, and then it goes back to Bob, and everything gets settled. So usually sometimes you find that these nodes will always have to close the channels with each other, and then it settles down chain, then it comes back to the balance. So it's some tricky stuff with the maintenance and everything. Let me try that again and see if this side is not working. Okay, so my network is not networking. So I'll try to close all these channels and see if I can get that liquidity flowing through properly. Get that closed. So I think now we have Bob, we have Dave. Okay, Dave has some money, so you make sure that Dave has some money. So if your transaction is moving through a a network, a node that does not have proper maintenance, you find that usually these hopes will not always come through properly. So we have that, we have this, and we have Carol, we have that. So okay, so let me try to close also Bob. Close Bob, and then let me close this, and then let me close everything. Let me close everything and make sure that I've connected that properly. Okay, so let me try to make it simple. So I'm going to connect from Carol, because I want the transaction to come from Alice to Dave to Carol. So I'm going to connect Dave to Carol and put that money there. From Dave to Carol, the liquidity is coming from this side, and also from Alice to Dave, like that. So we have from Alice to Dave, and then from Dave to Carol. Okay, let's try to pay Carol. I don't know how much Carol has. She has 5K. Okay, let's try to create an invoice. let's try to create a unique one, maybe 8K. Get that, give that to Alice. So expect the transaction to come from Alice to Dave to Carol. All right, so let's try and see that. Hopefully we get good results this time. So now you can see. So you need to, because this is a GUI and this is Polar. So I think I was opening channels. I was just throwing around channels. I wasn't minding how I was looking at the transaction. But the key part is you need to make sure you follow where the transactions are going. So it was because I wanted the money to come from Alice to Dave to Carol. So it came from Alice to Dave to Carol. So if I want it to go to Bob, so I'll have to go from Carol, then to Bob. So Bob is also is connected to Carol, and then from Bob to Erin. So let's see if that can work. So now Erin is now connected in the chain. So let's try to pay an invoice to Erin. So Erin has some small sats there. So let's give him 6K like that. Copy that and give to Alice. So we're going to see how the transaction has hopped through, and then we see if this can work. So go that. Yeah, so now the transaction has gone through. So I think I connected it wrongly. I was having some side channels that were going on the other side, but now the transaction came from Alice. It came to Dave. It came to Carol. It came to Bob, and then it came to Erin. So we can look at that. I don't know if you guys can see. So it gives us the hops. So you see, so it's a total fee. So that means each node or the whole of these nodes took some small money, which was 3 sats. So we see the first hop it went through was this B86. What is B86? Is that, so it first came to Dev. So what happened is that we gave Dev 8K, and then Dev got that 8K from this side and then gave to Carol's node, which must be FF6. So it gave Carol node 8K. Then Carol gave Bob 6K. So Bob must be F90, which is right. So Bob also had 8K, and then Bob gave that 8K to Erin. So now Erin got the money. I think it shows the last one. So the last hope was to get to Dave, which was D6. So that was the hope, and that's how it went through. Obviously, the Lightning Network is a very well connected network. You may not have to care about how Dave is going to, if Dave has some liquidity, if Dave has some money on his side, how they open channels. But usually if you connect yourself to a very good node like Dave, maybe Dave is connected to a bigger node, then the whole transaction will come through. So let me try to show you how the whole Lightning Network looks like. Let me see, it's mempool.space, and so you have to be sure that the node that you're connected to is a well-connected node, and they have balanced their channels in a very good way, and your hopes and your transaction will always come through properly. So this is the mempool, and we have the whole Lightning Network there. So you can see these are the best nodes that you could think about. So you see this. Let me try to open that in the bigger screen and see how you guys can look at it. So this is the whole world map. So this is the whole Lightning Network. So if you have your small node, you see now in Africa we have this node. I'm anticipating a new node coming up here. But so if you see your node here, so for example, this is Kenya free routing. So Kenya free routing is connected to this node. You see that? So if this node is connected to a bigger network, now you can see that. So you see that the whole of Kenya, this node is connected to the whole world because it's connected to a bigger node, of which that bigger node is connected to another bigger node, and then the whole thing is a full web, of which is really beautiful. So you see, it shows you there is this ASIC, which is the biggest, one of the biggest one. So it shows you there's a whole web of networks and connections. So yeah, it's not as small as this, but it's a very big interconnection of networks and nodes and services and everything like that. So basically that's that. I don't know if you guys have any questions. Feel free to shoot me. I think I'll be able to go through with that, and then yeah, anything, guys.
All right. Yo, what a session. Does anyone have questions? You can ask, you can inquire. Um, Someone is says, "Wow, thanks. It has been a great session indeed." For me, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot on noding and the technology itself. So, anyone with more questions? Yes, you can ask, please.
Uh, Mr. Jovan.
Yes, please.
Hi. I've understood everything you've done about the LND.
Yep.
I was more curious. I thought the session today was gonna be about the actual programming on how to tap into the network.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's a very good question. What we
yeah,
did, we could you could build a node. I think that
yeah,
was
the
the
building
first.
of the nodes. Yes.
Yeah, that was the first question that Vianney asked.
Mm-hmm.
You could build on the whole lightning network and test on the main chain, like how you
Mm-hmm.
could do. But then the
Mm-hmm.
problem is you'll have to pay. Maybe you'll have to host your node so that you can test
Yeah,
on the.
I'm asking this because I attended there was a class that was happening around September,
Okay.
and we were able to go through all this, and I was able to hold a machine that can be able to host a whole node.
Yep.
I'm now stuck on the era of the issue of now building a node from scratch, like the proper guidelines. Because
Mm.
I don't know what country you're from, but right now in Kenya, it's quite expensive to invest even in a whole Bitcoin alone, not
Yeah.
only on let's say like 10,000 satoshis.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, is there a session or is out of the 3 days? I believe you guys are stopping tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a session where you can teach us or help us learn how to build the nodes on our own machine so we can host it and be connected now to the main chain?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a good proposal. I'll have to. The good thing Vianney has had that. I think we could organize that, and we can show you guys how you can host the node on your local computer, and maybe open these channels in a live way and see how you could do it. We could do it on the test network. So Lightning also has a test network that
Yeah.
works the same way. I think it would be a good thing that you guys look at that, and yeah, good
All right.
proposal.
All right. Thanks.
Mm.
All right.
All right, we shall have a discussion on that. Maybe to be a boot camp because I know it's some massive work as we had discussed. Yeah, but we
Yeah.
shall have it in discussion.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, for me, I'm inquisitive. Tomorrow, are we going to have some GUI because we are ending tomorrow? I know you pushed
Going
Mr.
also.
Joe. Yeah, so I don't know, a front end of the app or something.
The plan was that with the front end, but the thing is, maybe it would be very basic. Maybe we could
Yeah,
show you how the wallets look like, how the QR code is scanned, and maybe because it will be just building upon this API that we will have. So
yes,
it will not be so much of lightning hard stuff. It will be a lot of maybe front end. Maybe I'll come up with something that is already designed, and then we just piece it together and show you how the invoice is decoded through the QR code, and maybe that. So I will have to look through that and see how we go ahead.
Uh, yeah, thank you so much. Yes. Uh, any other questions?
Um, Mine is not really a question, but thank you so much for today. And I want to know if you have some discussion forums like WhatsApp group or Discord where we can chat and discuss.
All right. We have so far we have a Telegram channel. I think there is a link to it in the description. Yeah, the central code. Yeah, we have a Telegram channel so far. You can hit us on anything. For these courses, we intend to bring to light the Web3 chains that have not been talked about so much. People have been talking about Ethereum, but building. So we are anticipating a coming series also in the next week. So you can discuss on what you need to do, on what you want, even on Ethereum, because we didn't start with Ethereum because we felt that it has been discussed a lot and many things are being built there. But yes, we have a lot that is coming. So Telegram is the best place as of now. We are planning to start a Discord as well. Yes, thank you. Any other question?
Maybe lastly,
Mm,
I'm not entirely a programmer. I'm a cybersecurity. My skills are in cybersecurity, penetration
yes.
testing. I don't know how I can use my skills uh,
Mm,
to
okay.
yeah, on the
Yeah.
light network.
Um, Mr. Jovan. Okay, to answer that, I think we shall have elaborate discussions in the Telegram, but you are in the right place because blockchain is built so much with security in conscious, and Bitcoin itself, there is a lot of security that has been put to consciousness. So yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Jovan, if you have
and
something to
maybe
say, you
to add
can
on
also.
that, I think as we've seen that this involves a lot of money, a lot of exchanges. We have a lot of wallets. We have a lot of stuff that's involving money. So everything, anything, any software that involves money, it will have definitely have to have cybersecurity in some sort. There's a new trend that is growing up in the side of blockchain, which is maybe uh, blockchain security. I think it will be something you may want to look through that if you want to go deeper into the blockchain. But that field is rising up. They need to audit. I think it's called audit farms. I think it's called smart contract security and all of that. So it's a field that is really, really, it does not have a lot of people there. It could be a good thing that you look through that. So security and money moves along. So all these projects, all these wallets, all these exchanges are very important, and they need to have security involved with that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. If there are no more questions, I would love to call it a session. We appreciate you, Mr. Jovan, so much for your time. Uh, we are really, really. I know I'm asking for tomorrow's session to wrap up, and I am excited. Thank you for these three sessions. For those who need to know about the first previous sessions, yeah, they will be on the YouTube channel. The link is also in the chat, and and in our Telegram. Most of the links are in the Telegram channel. So yes, it's a place. So thank you so much. You can subscribe. There is more coming. Thank you.
Thank you.